France, 1412. The Hundred Years' War has been grinding for nearly a century. England controls the north. The French crown is in chaos. I hope you brought snacks. Get ready to ride this timeline. In a tiny village called Domremy, a farmer's daughter named Joan is born into a world on fire. She can't read. She can't write. She has never held a sword. At 13, she begins hearing voices. St. Michael, St. Catherine, St. Margaret. They tell her God has chosen her to drive the English out of France and crown the rightful king. Most people would have gone back to feeding chickens. Joan was not most people. At 17, she walks up to the local military commander and demands an escort to see the prince. He laughs at her. She comes back. He laughs again. She comes back a third time and says, "I will complete this mission, whether you help me or not." He gives her the escort. She rides 11 days through enemy territory in the dead of winter, in disguise. When she walks into Chinon and finds the prince, who had disguised himself in a crowd of nobles to test her, she walks to him straight away. Charles doesn't give her an army. He gives her a theology exam. A panel of scholars interrogates her for 3 weeks. She passes. At 17, with no formal education. They give her armor. They give her an army. The city of Orleans had been under English siege for 7 months. Professional commanders had tried and failed. Joan arrives, reorganizes the assault, ignores the cautious generals, and in 9 days breaks the siege. She took an arrow through the neck during the fighting, pulled it out herself, and led the final charge of the same day. The English called her the Witch of Orleans. Military historians still study her campaigns today. On July 17, 1429, Charles VII was crowned king. She was a hero. Then France sold her out. In May 1430, Joan was captured by Burgundian forces, French allies of England. She tried to escape twice. The second time, she jumped from a 70-foot tower, survived, captured again. Charles VII, the king she had just crowned, did nothing. No ransom, no rescue, no negotiation. The girl who had saved his throne sat in an English prison for months while the king walked the other way. The English bought her from the Burgundians for 10,000 livres. And then they put her on trial. The charges? Heresy, witchcraft, wearing men's clothing. The real reason? She had humiliated them on the battlefield, and they needed to destroy her legacy. She was 19 years old, alone, no lawyer, no advisor, no king coming to save her. Weeks of interrogation, threats of torture, sleep deprivation, and still, she held the line. On May 30th, 1431, Joan of Arc was burned at the stake in Rouen, France. The king she had crowned never came. 25 years later, the church declared the trial corrupt. In 1920, she was canonized a saint. France eventually put her face on currency, named streets after her, built statues. But here is the part most people never talk about: the trial itself. 70 trained theologians, a judge on the English payroll, the charges, heresy and witchcraft, and one 19-year-old girl with no lawyer, no education, and no one in her corner. They ask her trick questions designed to trap her no matter how she answered. When they ask if she was in God's grace, a question with no safe answer, because claiming yes was arrogance and claiming no was confession, she said, "If I am not, may God put me there. If I am, may God keep me there." The court went silent. 70 theologians and not one of them had a response. They couldn't break her mind, so they broke her body. Weeks of interrogation. She held the line every single day. When they finally condemned her, she said her voices had been real and she would not deny them. On May 30th, 1431, she was burned at the stake. She asked for a cross. An English soldier made her one of 2 sticks. She died calling the name of Jesus. The executioner said afterwards that he was afraid he had burned a saint. He was right. The church confirmed it 489 years later.